coming in to do our cards again for the day, to do a card for the day. Just trying to see if I have, it doesn't look like I have a connection, so I'm just trying to see. I should be on Facebook and I should also be on YouTube. So if we have anyone with me. And I always just let people join in. So if you're joining, just bear with me a moment. We just let people get in here. Oh, I'm up. Okay. And these are being posted at different times during the day. Good day, Carlene. So these are being posted at different times during the day, and you'll see me comment to people that on one platform that you will not see on the other one. So I'm on YouTube and I'm on Facebook Live at the same time. My broadcasting system is Be Live that I broadcast through, so it can go to both places at one time. So you'll see me in two. So good morning, Carlene, and good morning to anyone else who's joining in. Welcome. We are on day 5. Right? Day 6. We're on day 6. I think it is day 6. And we're doing day 6, doing card 5, because there was a 0. And I keep saying, remember, there's the card of wholeness, and we return to that at the end. So, the beautiful thing about, I always chuckle when I get all these messages starting to come in on my phone and popping up here. I'm like, obviously people are not on my lives. The people closest to me are not on my lives. They're like messaging me at the time that I'm on here. So what I'm coming in to do is talk about the cards, my own oracle cards. This is not about pulling out cards for out of any other decks in these morning sessions that you see me doing, and it's why it's called at the top. It's the card 5 of day 6, and so because we are actually doing a walkthrough of every single card that is in my own oracle card deck that is being created. That I actually yesterday, when I was in yesterday's live, I said I said that I think they may be here today. Well, they did come yesterday. So this is the beta testing deck of my oracle cards. This is the back of my cards. This is when myself and the artist talked about creating a door and wanting a door with a keyhole and, and wanting this like mystical look to it. This is what channeled through her, and she created. And it's like, well, she's like, I'm not sure if it's a door. And I said, it's a door. It's a portal. And this is the portal door and the opening into the portal. And so I love how Amelia, Richard, who's the artist, just allows her creativity to flow. She just fully trusts the journey and trusts what we are creating here. So yeah, thank you, Emma. I'm in love with this design. And of course, the cover of the box is the Everyday Goddess card box that's on the wall, on the wall behind us. Like, got a point. And so, because everything is backwards, right? And then one of the other cards is on the wall over there as well. But this is now officially the first test run of the cards. And so this is the first test run. And here is our oracle cards of the Everyday Goddess. This is one of my years and years of dreaming coming to reality. And as I've been spending how many years, 17 years, shuffling through other people's oracle cards and using other people's oracle cards, I am the owner of my own deck of oracle cards that are created through my healing journey, through the journey of coming from, stepping into having the courage to be all of me, to heal the parts of me that I was trying to run from, to hide, and to let it come to life. So Emma, I'm not sure when they're going to be available yet, because we have to kind of proof all of this, and then we have to finish the last bits of writing in the book, when we have to transfer everything that I wrote, like on the back of all of these cards and in journals, and we have to transfer all of that over into the book. So we're hoping by the end of February we can start pre-sales. So we're so excited to be able to bring these out and to actually have them in our hands. It's like, oh, so the first few days you see me using the big picture, right, of the card. The artwork is what you were seeing. Now you're actually seeing the card. So this is in creation. This is what's happening. This is where we've been. So now we have a card. Oh, hold on. Got to get rid of the, don't anybody click on that person that just commented. We had to get him out of here. We have a spammer that comes in every time. Full-time job. And so, yes, so we have caught it right away. It's like, no, so I got it. And so now we have the cards. So we have a creation. We have, this is, from beginning to end, it's like watching the story in motion, right? So from story in motion, from what I was starting to get to creating all of this stuff to this. The next thing will be in a box, delivered for sale to everyone else. So it's in the process. I do love to share my journey. I love to share, it's not like all of a sudden a deck of cards show up. And that's what I like to show people is the truth of creating something, is that, it doesn't happen overnight. And anything that you want, that you really want in your life takes work. It takes you putting the action steps in. Magic and miracles don't just always show up in your laps. It takes you putting the work into it. And that's why I love to share what I do. It's just not one day I show up with this box of oracle cards and say, oh, wow, look what I just created. No, this is like a couple years in production, like a few years before that in my head, a few years of channeling, journaling, writing, creating, a lifetime of experiences, a lifetime of fighting for every piece of who I am and also allowing. And then it comes out to this. And that's basically our life. That's basically our lives. It all comes down to what you're willing to put into your work and to be able to come back to see the beauty in you and bring to beauty. And so with the oracle cards, what I keep saying is that these were created from people that have been in my life, like one way or the other, that no matter when we believe ourselves to be dark and people say, oh, that person's so dark, that person's so negative, that person is so this, so that. And I'm like, but inside, beyond the darkness, like that still does not define the person, that there's still beauty in there. And no matter what. So people say, well, you did a shadow deck of cards, like oracle, like shadows. And I'm like, that doesn't mean we're dark. That doesn't mean I have to create creepy, horrible cards that make you feel awful. It means that you create the beautiful cards to show that no matter what you're experiencing, no matter what you're going through, no matter of your biggest day of being the biggest bee in the world that day, there is still beauty. There's still something inside. And that's that little that's that little spark of hope, that little bit of light. In all darkness, there is light. And so until there's no light left, and when there's no light left, then it's full darkness. And until then, there's still hope. And so all these cards are created to be very pretty, to be very beautiful, to be there. Because through my eyes, even on the days when people thought they were the worst human in the world, that when I start working with women and some men as well, that there was light. But it doesn't mean that every time that you see somebody who is really, truly, in their darkest place, that it's your obligation, that it's your job to stay sticking to somebody until they see the light in them. It's like, that's not your job to make them see the good in themselves. Nobody can make you see the good in yourself. You have to truly believe that you have the ability to see the good in yourself. And that's when life starts to change. Yes, Angie, as soon as I get these out, As soon as we can start announcing pre-sales, it's going to be it'll be at least till the end of February. A lot of work is going into this, and we want them to be the best. We want them to represent me and more than existing. Imperfectly perfect. They're going to have imperfections, but the artwork is incredible. The artwork is so, like, Amelia Richard is, and she's young, and she's the most amazing artist. Like, it's so incredible. She blows my mind just what she's capable of doing. So today's card, and you've seen this card last week in my live, but we're going to talk about her again. And so this is Hollow. And today we're speaking of Hollow. She is the number 5. She is the transformation. And when we're bringing ourselves, when we're say I'm done and I'm ready for that transformation, be able to move to that point. So for her, it's the whole image of, broken. The first thing you do when you're ready to transform your life is stop looking at yourself as broken. Stop seeing yourself as broken. We call her fragmented. And so when you see yourself as, like, there's fragments of you that you've left everywhere. You've left pieces of you everywhere. And so there's these fragmented pieces of you that you gave away, that you put in, that you've invested your all into somebody else's heart, that you gave your all to everyone else, that you gave your all to as an employee, as an employer, as, everywhere that you went, as a woman, as a man, like, you just truly gave all those pieces, that you left nothing for you. That you left not a thing for you. You gave everything of you away. And so you feel as if there's this sense of being broken, but you're not broken. You're unaware. You're unaware that everything that you gave away was only energy. And so the pieces of you that you can bring back home is that you can recreate, then you can bring home the energy. You can bring back the energy. You can, when you start to see yourself as the light of the God consciousness, when you start to see yourself as worthy, that's the golden light. It's the diamond light. It's the white light, whatever you want to call it, that truly starts to bring things back together. And when you see yourself as this, if your statement, and what I say on the back of the card, if your statement includes broken, I will assume you mean beautiful. And that's the truth. For me, with all the people I've worked with, all the people that I meet, I met a few very lost souls, yes. But when we look at her, is that the stability that she's still standing, she's still standing in her pieces. She's still standing. Do you see her? No matter how broken she may feel, how much it's like she's still standing. So she's not broken. She's inside and behind the fragmented pieces of her. So she's hidden behind. She's hidden behind the broken pieces of her. And so she's still there. And so when I look at her, I see sadness, I see peace, but I see beauty. There's so many things that I see. And hollow is truly, that beautiful, if how you treat things is you treat, so to be hollow is to be treated as holy, to see yourself as holy, to be treated as holy, to be treated as you would treat another, to be treated as how you would respect and treat, the God consciousness, and to be treated, respect, loved as holy, to believed to be holy. And when you learn to treat yourself as that, you're truly learning to treat yourself as worthy, to see yourself as a little more unconditional love than you were able to see before. Often when we see women who are struggling, or men, whatever it is that, it's that whole self, like when you're trying to, when people have told you that you're weird and odd long enough, you start to research things like, do I have a split personality? Is there something wrong with me? Borderline personality, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, but like things like borderline personality, they come from past traumas. There's not something that is like that's mentally wrong that truly brings that. It's often, not all the time, but like conditions like that, like your depression, your anxiety, comes from suppression. It comes from the unhealed trauma events in your life. The anxiety, it is from the things that we suppress. And so it's not ever that people are broken, right? It's not from that. And so this is, And this is about the self of seeing like what we do in the goddess course that I'm teaching, the soul revival. And people say, oh my God, she's satanic, she's this, she's that. Do you know what soul revival is going back through your history, going back through your life, and picking up the pieces of you that made you feel so freaking incomplete, that made you feel worthless, that made you feel like you were not enough. And we travel back through and we're picking up those pieces and we're redefining the words that have been said to you, the words that you hold, that you've made an attachment to, and moving beyond that. And so your statement, if you tell me you're broken, I'm going to assume you're beautiful, because over here the broken are pieces of amazing artwork that has their reflection of golden light seeping out. So you must be a priceless piece of work. You know that if you are golden is appearing, you know that you're golden if gold is appearing through your pieces. So your light is always sparking out. So when you're at your lowest, when you're your most depressed, when you're in that sadness energy, when you're unsure of what's happening, when you're grieving, there's always that one person that says to you in a message, I see you. And it's usually like, my, you're so beautiful, you have such a beautiful smile, can I help you, can I be of assistance to you? That means that your little sparks of gold have to be shown. Your light is showing because they are seeing something inside of you that you're not seeing in you. And when you can start to see that, life starts to change. And so the other saying that I had, the other writing when this first started to come to me, was that I used to have to struggle to be me in a lot of ways, because you're conditioned by the past history of your own family. So what they experienced, what they were taught, their belief system, the hurt and harm that was passed down. And yes, trauma is genetically passed down. Like if you what your mother went through, what your grandmother went through, genetically you feel that umbilical cord connection. When your mother is carrying you in the womb, especially someone who's gifted this way, that very strong in this sense of self, is that I could feel everything that she was feeling. So you knew you become a part of the past history of everyone else. And so we do everything to make sure that it doesn't happen again. So through our children, we try to heal our past through doing better with our children. And it's not working because they are not our past history. They don't have the same experience. They're not living the same story we lived, and you're not living the same story that your mother lived. You're not living the same story that your grandmother lived. You're only living it when you recreate it and you bring it to life in your own life. And that's the only way that you're living it, is that you recreate it, or she recreates it and she tries to instill it into your life, or trying to make sure it doesn't happen in your life, and then causing the same effect, right? And so it's only because we bring it into our lives, we pull it in there. And so the words that come with that, we connect the same meaning, the same emotion, the same feeling, even though we didn't have their trauma. We didn't experience it the same way. We may have a different way we're experiencing it, but that means we have a different story. You're not the same character. You're not the same person. So the truth of the words and the conditioning of the reflection others would have liked to suppress was that the child would someday find a voice of an angry young woman, that at some point this woman of today would have to give a voice of love and the style that would set her free. This will make, and so this is when you truly take everything that was suppressed. So someday that child grows up. Someday that child becomes an adult. Perfectionist, trying to be just like, trying to mimic the person that raised them or the family, trying to be the same legacy as somebody else, until that day when it's like everything that's been suppressed, that you hold down, or that you hold on so tightly, is that when you let that go, the child would someday find a voice of anger and say, that young woman, and just like, no, I'm not all of that. And everything that you fight so hard to be, everything that you fight so hard to be that you know is not defining the highest, the best of you, when you start to get to that point, then this woman then finds a voice of love. And when you find a voice of love, it means that you also find a voice of love for self. When you find a voice of love for yourself, you know that you're ready to put the work in, to awaken the parts of you you have been running from, the parts of you that you've been hiding from. And then you give it then you got the opportunity to recreate, to be who you always wanted to be yourself. And that may change again tomorrow, but we don't have to stay stagnant in an identity, in a role. And I always say this when I see people, when you're, when you're trying to sell what belongs to somebody else, and you're selling somebody else's product, or you're selling somebody else's work, and you're not allowed to speak of yourself, like you have a script. And so you have this script and you have to follow this script, and like, no, you're not allowed to talk about anyone else's work, you're not allowed. Well, someday that will become crippling, because you become a hostage to that. And it's like, if you allow people, even if they're using your work, to have their own identity, to bring their own energy in. And that's the beauty of these cards. They'll come with a booklet, but I want people to use these cards. I want people to not feel frustrated that they got to look up in the book and read from the book. What does this make you feel like today? What is this? What is this reminding you of today? And allow it to become a part of you today. Hollow, hollow. The fragments of you, bringing it home to you. This is about you. What does this bring to you? And so this is that's how the voice of love really is truly found a voice in more than existing. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. I'm not your guru. I'm here to share my experiences, to share my journey, in hope that my stories will help you be able to inspire yourself to be your own guru, to learn to trust your own intuition, to become healthy enough that your instincts and your intuition can operate together, so that you're not living from fight or flight brain and making choices and decisions from there that are impulsive, that are to make everyone else happy, that are taking you farther away from truth. That you got this for you. Thank you for joining me, Wendy. And so when you truly find that voice, then you create your style. You don't have to have a set in stone image, that you now are free. So when the fragmented pieces of us, when we know and we recognize that I'm picking up the fragmented pieces of me and I'm going to be imperfectly perfect, well, now you're free. Now you're willing to set yourself free to be what you want to be. This is transformation. And transformation, awakening, is not pretty. There's no big, shining moment. It doesn't come, you don't float into this new life. You get down and you get you dig down deep into the muck, into the mud, into the depths of everything, and you break it open, you crack it open. But you gotta be ready and prepared for the each level. Trying to do it all at once, people want to jump in and they're like, oh, just want to do it all right now. We are not emotionally prepared to do it all right now. What can I do today? What can I do today? What is one thing that I can do for myself today? What am I prepared right now to be able to handle? What can I do? And that's where you start to bring the pieces of you home, not by trying to do it all today, not trying to become the superstar overnight. I didn't start this journey yesterday, right? And I'm very open about the fact that where I am and how life is still working is that this didn't come This didn't come by pretending. This didn't come by putting the face on and saying, look what I did. I did all of this and it was so easy and you can do it too. And I'm not going to sell the freaking infomercial that says, I did this and you can do it today. It could be yours today. No, it will not be yours today. But can it be yours? Yes. Yes. When you truly learn to walk in your truth, when we take all of that anger, all that frustration, and we go beyond the word, we go beyond the trigger of the emotion, of the old stories. What is the truth? What am I doing? How did I keep putting myself in those situations? How did I keep doing this to myself? That's how it happens. Being honest. And so the reflection, the truth of the words and the conditioning of the reflection of others would have would have liked to suppress you or did suppress you. They suppress a child, they hold a child. Now child needs guidance, but fearful guidance, just like the world is doing to us today. Fearful guidance is not going to provide a healthy future. Fearful guidance, fearfully guiding your children, fearfully telling them to be afraid of the world, crippling them to only your opinion mattering, to only your view is the only right view. That is crippling. And when we cripple people, we limit them to the unlimited world and the unlimited possibilities that there's a possibility you could be wrong. There's a possibility I'm wrong, but this is what I believe in, and this is how it's worked for me, or this is what hasn't worked for me. You know how beautiful that is for a child to know that they then have an opportunity to use their own mind, to think for themselves, to be themselves, that they're not living their life by a script, and you're not scripted into being told who you have to be, how you have to be, and how you have to live your life. Freedom. And freedom does not come from censoring. Freedom does not come from hiding a child from everything, or by stifling people down. And when I seen this card, the first thing I thought of, I watched this movie a few years ago, and it was about this fear that the whole little community that lived in this woods had to stay within their little community, and they weren't allowed to leave because there was a monster outside there that was killing people and would eat them if they traveled outside. And everybody lived in such fear of that monster, right? Everybody lived in such fear of that monster. And when somebody was running from that, they ended up accidentally out on the road. They ended up out on the road. And when they did, they were like an alien standing on the road because they seen moving vehicles. This was in modern day times. And when they came out of the woods, they realized in that moment that they had been held captive to somebody's fear of the modern day world, and that they were trapped in the past, and that they were keeping them like they were back 100 years ago. And they were told that that was their life, and to be fearful of everything else. And the only truth was, what we lived. And this was the era, this was time. That's what we believe to be true. And we believe that to be true until we're willing to look beyond our own limits and how we have a limiting belief. And we open our eyes and we expand beyond that. So when that girl was standing on the road, I think it was a girl, she was standing on the road and a truck come by, and somebody stepped out the truck and they looked differently, they were dressed differently. And she was so fearful of what she was seeing, but she also had a huge aha moment that her whole life had been a lie based on the belief of how somebody else had them captive in their past, in their story, in their insecurities, in their fears, and they were stuck there. And that moment now opened up another world and exposed a whole community that was held hostage to an old belief. And so out there was a whole different world. Out there was more. And that was such a true movie to life. That was a big moment of, that's how people judge each other. So because I have the ability to channel, because I have ability to speak to spirit, I'm treated in a lot of places as if I'm, they call us a witch. A witch was a woman who was brave enough to look beyond the crippling stories, to know more. Called a Satan worshiper, all of those things, that limiting belief thinking that holds us trapped, that makes us start to hide ourselves and to give all of us away to try to prove ourselves in the world that we're enough, that we're good people. Spent a lifetime trying to prove that I was a good fucking person until the day that I decided, I know I'm a good person. I don't need to define it. I don't need to justify it, explain it to anybody. That's when all the pieces start to come home. And so for you today, I hope in some way this resonates with you. I hope if you're watching this later, that you watch it all the way to the end and let this beautiful hollow sit with you today. And know that, I share these stories with you. I share my experiences. I share my journey so that it does take hard work. It does take putting the work in. It doesn't happen. And no, I didn't, people say, oh, well, if you got money. No, I had no fucking money. I was down to actually, when I started to create some of this, I literally was making calls to bankruptcy. And am I rocking it now in finances? Well, no, obviously, because my business has been crippled by what is happening out there, but it didn't cripple me. What's happening out there is not what's happening inside of me. I will continue to rise no matter what's happening out there. And that's what you have to remember. No matter what's happening out there, hold the faith, the hope, and the belief in you, and let life start to unfold for you. And I hope that when these do sell, that you have the book, you can look in the book, but look into the picture, look into the artwork, and see you and see how it resonates with you. And if you're working with them professionally and you're using them on a client, it's going to be a real challenge not to connect your personal experiences with this and to keep your ego out and to bring it to the person, bring it to the eyes of the person that you're working with. Let them see them. And for you to see them, look deep enough so that you can see the person. You can see beyond the image of what you're looking at in the person that you're working with. Look deeper. Go deeper. It'll make you so much better at your work. You'll be able to see so much more, see people in a much more beautiful light. And you will not be crippled and fearful of people that you are uncertain of. Much love. Thank you for being here with me. And this is the new deck of cards. I hope this is beta testing. So this is the back. And these are the beautiful cards. So from the pictures that I have been sharing with you that look like this, from the sketches that were like this, a books full of these, to this. It takes work. It takes action. And it takes you making a choice today to choose you. And as I said, if I hear one person to say to me, I'm broken, I will assume you're beautiful, because there is always a light, no matter how dark you want to think people are. There's something inside of them. There is still a light inside until there's no light left. So much love, and thank you, thank you, thank you. Janelle, you had a great horned owl visit you last night at 4 a.m. It was right outside my bedroom window on the corner of the roof and not carrying it. See? Absolutely gorgeous. You were being spoken to, Janelle. Yeah. Oh, you're so welcome, Kelly. Thank you all for being here with me, and thank you for always your love and support. And for anybody watching a replay, much love to you all as well. And I hope as we share these cards each and every day for the 45 days, now that we have cards and not just pictures, that we get to bring them to life even more. So much love. See you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye. Oh, one last thing. I'm on Lisa Star Francis' page today. So I posted a link on my Facebook page. Lisa Star Francis is her business page, and I'm going to be live with her today on her page as we are working through her system as well. So if you want to join us there, 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time is when we're going to be there. 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Bye-bye.